Hey everyone, it's time again to recap the latest news from the solar PV industry, compiled by the American Solar Energy Society. I'm Jay Warmke with SolarPVTraining.com, and this is what's happening in the wonderful world of solar for the week of January 4th. The U.S. grid is currently flooded with data center proposals that will never be built, according to a recent white paper from Schneider Electric. The paper argues that only 10 to 20% of all proposed data centers will ever get beyond the permitting stage. If true, the report argues that this may lessen the impact of projected load demand growth, but it makes it more difficult for utilities and grid operators to plan for the future. Such claims echo a 2018 Lawrence Berkeley National Labs study that compared load forecasts and actual growth for 12 Western U.S. utilities in the mid-2000s and found that most overestimated future load demand. Data center developers are adept at playing utilities off one against the other to manufacture price elasticity, noted a former commissioner for the Texas Public Utilities Commission. The phantom load problems, he went on to say, arise because the cost of getting in a queue is lower than the weighted likelihood that they'll want to use that position. When it's cheaper to buy a queue position, he noted, than it is not to use that queue position, you'll buy queue positions all day long. Now, many utilities are trying to raise the cost of load demand applications. This year, Dominion Energy, Appalachian Power, and Rappahannock Electric Co-op proposed new large load rate classes that would apply to data centers. And basically what they would require is that data centers pay at least 60 to 80% of the contracted demand, even if the data center is never constructed. Capacity prices in PJM's Interconnection's latest auction hit a $329.17 megawatt day price cap across its region. That's up 22% from a year ago. PJM expects the increase to lead to a 1.5% to 5% bill increase for most ratepayers. PJM is the regional transmission authority that manages the grid in states located between New York and Chicago. The situation might have been worse. Analysts estimate that without a price cap that was established in an agreement with Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro, the capacity price for the 2026-2027 delivery year would have been nearly $389 per megawatt day, or about 18% higher than it actually was, which would have been a 40% increase overall. In 2024, PJM's capacity auction sent shockwaves through its 13-state region when prices for delivery soared nearly tenfold, up from $28.92 per megawatt day to $269.92 per megawatt day. A capacity price is the cost utilities must pay generators for the promise that power will be available in the future, not for the cost of the power itself. The auction's higher capacity prices are signs that the market believes that future demand will be far greater than future supply. Residential electricity prices rose more rapidly than commercial and industrial prices from 2019 through 2024, according to a study released by Lawrence Berkeley National Labs. Nationwide, average retail residential prices jumped 27% during that 5-year period, while average commercial and industrial prices rose 18%. Now, electric bills have increased a further 13% in 2025, according to a separate report. Now, that brings overall prices for residential electricity up 40%. The report placed much of the blame for increased prices on customers who are opting out by installing their own solar generation. But in a report released by Bank of America last week, they disagreed with these conclusions, stating that growing demand for electricity generation capacity, grid investments, partly due to data centers, as well as higher natural gas prices appear to be the primary reason for rising electricity bills. The Ohio Northern University Institute for Civics and Public Policy recently completed its annual poll with a special focus on public opinion about zoning issues, including the development of solar farms. In general, the poll found that solar farms are quite popular amongst Ohioans, with a clear majority expressing support for solar development. Overall, 55% of respondents are in favor of solar farms, while only 19% oppose them. Ohioans responded favorably when asked about economic impact of solar farms, and they also were positive about the environmental impact of solar farms. Now, across every measured category, that would be economic, environmental, quality of life, Ohioans viewed solar farms positively. And that is the news from the solar industry for this week. We'll see you next week.